Welcome to the Hildreth Family History Channel and to this 9th episode of the story of our Hildreth family in America. This is Mike Hildreth, 12th generation of Hildreth in America along my branch of the Hildreth family. James Thomas Logan Hildreth of Marion County, Ohio is my grandfather. Sergeant Richard Stanley Hildreth, who came to the British colony of Massachusetts from Gainford, Durham, England in 1635, is my 9th great-grandfather. There is an old unkept Hildreth Cemetery in Union County, Ohio, deep in the woods along Boakes Creek between Pharisburg and Magnetic Springs. This episode is about the Hildreth family buried there. The branch of this Hildreth family came from Connecticut and is traceable to Sergeant Richard Stanley Hildreth and his wife Elizabeth. The story of the Hildreth family buried in this old Hildreth cemetery starts with this gentleman, William Hildreth II. An interesting discovery in this research was finding other Hildreth branches that came to Ohio from Massachusetts and Connecticut. The Logan Hildreth branch, my branch, which I'll call the Samuel Warren Hildreth, 1788 to 1863 branch, came from Pepperell, Massachusetts to Ohio sometime before 1819. This Samuel Warren branch descended from Sergeant Richard Stanley and his wife Elizabeth, their son Ephraim. The William Hildreth II, 1770 to 1852, shown here. This branch came from Marlborough, Connecticut to Ohio around 1812. This William II branch descended from Sergeant Richard Stanley and his wife Elizabeth's son Joseph. These two men who brought their families to Ohio in the early 1800s, Samuel Warren and William III, were first cousins 4 times removed or very close to that. It's interesting that both families came to Ohio close to the same time and both lived in Knox County before moving to Union County. We can assume they knew each other, possibly very well. William II's father, William I, fought by the side of General George Washington for 7 years and was wounded at the Battle of Brandywine on September 11, 1777. William II, shown here, and his wife Ruth Mason, and their 5 sons all came from Connecticut. William purchased a farm and this house in Knox County about 1828. William II and Ruth's son, William III, who moved to Union County, Ohio, is the patriarch of the family buried in Hildreth Cemetery. Ruth Mason Hildreth lived to be an amazing 106 years old. William and Ruth are buried in Miller Cemetery in Knox County. This is William Hildreth III. William III and the others listed in yellow text are buried in this Hildreth Cemetery. Buried alongside William III are his wife Elizabeth, their son Gilman Bryant, Gilman's wife Sarah Jane, and their children. This family lived during the time of the Civil War. William III and Elizabeth's son, Private Benoni, was a Civil War veteran and is the subject of an upcoming Hildreth Family in America episode. This is William III's wife, Elizabeth, also buried in this old Hildreth cemetery. Elizabeth suffered through the experience of the severe wounding of her son, Private Benoni, in the Civil War. This poem from the History of Union County speaks to the hardship and grief of the families of those soldiers lost and wounded. The mother who conceals her grief, while to her breast her son she presses, then breathes a few brave words and brief, kissing the patriot brow she blesses, with no one but her secret God to know the pain that weighs upon her, sheds holy blood as ere the sod received on freedom's field of honor. This is William III and Elizabeth's son, Gilman Bryant Hildreth. Gilman's wife, Sarah, and 3 of their children are buried in this Hildreth Cemetery. There are no photos of Sarah's grave. This picture was taken sometime shortly before 1888. Bottom left are Sarah Jane, Gilman Bryant, and then their daughter Matilda Jane and Matilda's family. Gilman and Sarah had a son, Henry Bryant, who died young at the age of 5. Henry Bryant is buried in this Hildreth Cemetery. Gilman and Sarah also had a daughter who died in infancy in 1864. She is buried in this Hildreth Cemetery. Gilman and Sarah had another daughter, Rosanna. The inscription is difficult to read. It appears Rosanna also died young around 1865. Rosanna is also buried in this Hildreth Cemetery. William III and his wife Elizabeth had a son, Benoni Hildreth, who lived from 1830 to 1900. Benoni was severely wounded in the Civil War. Watch for a special episode on Private Benoni Hildreth. Benoni is buried in Oakdale Cemetery in Marysville, Union County, Ohio, with his wife, Mary L. Jenkins Hildreth, who lived from 1842 to 1910. Benoni is buried in Soldier's Circle. This is William III's and Elizabeth's son, David, and his wife, Eliza Ann. They married on March 19, 1846 in Knox County. David and Eliza had 11 children. Both are buried in Claiborne Cemetery in Roachwood, Union County, Ohio. In this old Hildreth Cemetery, deep in the woods between Pharisburg and Magnetic Springs in Union County, Ohio, are buried a few of the Hildreth's family branch that originated in Connecticut and came to Ohio around 1812. This family lost several very young children. The family lived during the time of the Civil War. Engraved on William's headstone are lyrics from the hymn, "Hark from the Tombs of a Doleful Sound," by Isaac Watts, who lived from 1674 to 1748. On the tombstone it reads, "Come, all ye living men, come view the ground, where you must shortly lay. The tall, the wise, the reverend head must lay as low as ours." The hymn from which this came was sung at the funeral of President George Washington. William Hildreth III, his 3rd great-grandparents were Sergeant Richard Stanley and Elizabeth Hildreth. William III was a distant cousin of Logan Hildreth. May we remember and honor William, his wife Elizabeth, and their Hildreth family.